The first time I saw her name again, my hands stopped working. Not shaking, not trembling. Stopped. Like my body remembered the exact second she destroyed my life 10 years earlier and decided it wasn't surviving that pain twice. I was standing in the hallway of Meadow Creek Elementary, holding my daughter Lily's enrollment file, while kids screamed around me and exhausted parents argued over paperwork at the front desk. Normal Tuesday morning chaos. Then I reached the emergency contact section. Alternate guardian. Ava Monroe. I stared at the letters, so long the ink blurred. Ava Monroe. The woman who disappeared from my life without goodbye. The woman I once bought an engagement ring for. The woman who vanished 3 weeks before our wedding with every dollar in our savings account. The woman I spent years trying not to hate, because hating her still felt too close to loving her. And somehow, her name was on my daughter's school form. I remember whispering, "What the hell?" so quietly nobody heard me except Lily. She looked up from her crayons and smiled innocently. "Oh, Miss Ava helped Mommy fill the forms." That sentence cracked something open inside me, because Lily had never met Ava. At least, she wasn't supposed to. 10 years earlier, Ava Monroe walked into my life, carrying a coffee tray and enough confidence to ruin me forever. I was 28, broke, exhausted, working double shifts at a sports bar in Chicago, while pretending my failed music career didn't haunt me every night. She was impossible not to notice. Dark curls tied carelessly behind her head, leather jackets, silver rings on almost every finger, the kind of smile that made you forget what question you asked. She ordered black coffee and corrected my pronunciation of macchiato in front of customers, then laughed so hard at my embarrassment she snorted. That was the first moment I fell for her, not because she was beautiful, because she felt alive in a way I wasn't anymore. Within months, she knew every broken piece of me. She knew my father drank himself to death, knew my mother stopped answering my calls after remarrying, knew I still wrote songs nobody heard, and somehow she looked at all those failures like they were proof I deserved more love instead of less. Nobody had ever done that before. The scary part, I believed her. We built a life fast. Too fast, probably. Tiny apartment, cheap furniture, inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else. Sunday pancakes that always burned because she danced while cooking. I used to wake up at night just to watch her sleep, because my brain couldn't process how someone like her chose someone like me. Then everything changed 3 weeks before our wedding. I came home carrying takeout and flowers. The apartment door was unlocked. That should have warned me. But love makes idiots out of intelligent people. The living room was half empty. Her clothes gone. Suitcases gone. The framed photos missing from the wall. At first I thought we'd been robbed. Then I saw the note. 3 sentences. "I'm sorry. You'll hate me eventually. Please don't look for me." That was it. No explanation. No goodbye. No fight. Just silence. Then I checked our bank account. $43,000 gone. Every cent we'd saved for the wedding. I remember collapsing onto the kitchen floor so hard the takeout containers exploded beside me. Orange sauce everywhere. Rice stuck to the wall. And me sitting there staring at nothing while my entire future disappeared in one afternoon. People think heartbreak arrives dramatically. It doesn't. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like a person removing themselves from your life so completely you start wondering if they were ever real at all. After Ava disappeared, I became the version of myself people survive instead of live with. I stopped writing music, stopped trusting people, started sleeping with the television on because silence reminded me of abandonment. Friends tried helping at first, then they got tired. That's what happens when grief lasts longer than people expect. Eventually they stop comforting you and start avoiding you. The worst part wasn't losing the money. It was losing my ability to believe love meant safety. Every relationship at Ava became a hostage negotiation between my fear and somebody else's patience. Then Emily arrived, and I almost ruined that too. I met Emily at a grocery store during the most humiliating moment of my adult life. I was arguing with a self-checkout machine over avocados. The machine kept screaming, unexpected item in bagging area, while a line of irritated strangers watched me fail basic technology. Then this woman beside me said, "You know it's usually easier if you stop threatening the machine out loud." I turned around ready to snap at whoever embarrassed me. Instead I saw warm brown eyes trying not to laugh. Emily Carter, elementary school teacher, divorced, too smart for me from the beginning. She helped me fix the machine, then stole one of my avocados and walked away smiling. That should have terrified me. Instead it made me laugh for the first time in months. Emily loved differently than Ava. Ava loved like fireworks. Emily loved like a fireplace, steady, safe, quiet enough for broken people to finally rest. It took me 2 years to stop flinching every time Emily borrowed my debit card. 3 years before I stopped checking if she packed bags during arguments. She never complained about my damage, at least not out loud. When Lily was born, I cried harder than she did. Tiny fingers wrapped around mine. Emily exhausted and smiling through tears. And suddenly I understood why people survive terrible things. Because sometimes life eventually hands you something beautiful enough to make the suffering feel survivable. For 7 years we were happy. Real happy. Not social media happy. Not fake smiling happy. Messy, exhausting, beautiful family happy. Then Emily got sick. Cancer is cruel in ways movies never show. The movies show dramatic speeches, beautiful final moments, meaningful goodbyes. Reality is watching the strongest person you know apologize because they're too tired to walk to the bathroom. Reality is pretending not to notice chunks of hair on pillowcases. Reality is hearing your daughter ask if mommy still loves her, even though she sleeps all day. Emily fought for 18 months. 18 brutal months. And near the end, she grabbed my hand inside that hospital room, whispered something that made no sense at the time. "If Ava ever comes back, listen before you hate her." I remember freezing. My chest turned cold. I asked her how she knew that name. Emily just smiled softly. "You were never as good at hiding pain as you thought." Then she closed her eyes. 3 weeks later, she died. I buried my wife on a rainy Thursday, while Lily held my hand asking if heaven had playgrounds. There are pains language cannot carry properly. That was one of them. After Emily died, survival became routine again. Lunches, laundry, homework, pretending strength for Lily, crying in parked cars where she couldn't hear me. And somehow, through all of it, Ava Monroe never crossed my mind again. Until that school form. That night after Lily fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table staring at the paperwork like it might explain itself if I suffered long enough. Miss Ava helped Mommy fill the forms. The sentence replayed endlessly. Emily had known Ava somehow. But how? Why would she hide that from me? And why would she put Ava's name on emergency paperwork for our daughter? I barely slept. The next morning I drove back to the school pretending I forgot documents. Really, I wanted answers. The receptionist recognized me immediately. "Oh, you're Lily's father. Ava spoke so highly of you." My stomach dropped. I forced a smile. "Ava comes here often. She volunteers twice a week." I think my heart actually stopped, because suddenly the impossible became real. She wasn't gone. She was here, near my daughter, near my life. After 10 years of silence, the receptionist pointed toward the library, and every step toward that room felt like walking into my own funeral. I saw her before she saw me. She sat cross-legged, beside 3 children reading a picture book dramatically, while kids laughed around her. Older now, softer somehow, but unmistakably Ava. The same hands, same voice, same way she tucked hair behind her ear while concentrating. Then she looked up, and the color drained from her face. The room disappeared around us. 10 years collapsed into one unbearable second. She stood slowly. The book slipped from her hands. And for the first time in my life, I watched Ava Monroe look afraid of me. "Daniel," she whispered. I wanted to scream, wanted to demand answers, wanted to ask where the money went, why she destroyed us, why she was near my child. Instead I said the dumbest thing imaginable. "You cut your hair." She laughed unexpectedly. A broken little laugh soaked in shock, and somehow that hurt worse than anger, because for one horrifying second, it felt familiar. We talked outside behind the school near the basketball courts. Cold wind. Kids yelling nearby. My hands shoved into jacket pockets because I didn't trust them not to shake. Ava looked like someone carrying invisible weight. You should have stayed gone, I said. She nodded immediately. I know. No. You don't get to say that like you understand. I do. You stole from me. I know. You disappeared. I know. You ruined my life. That one hit her. I saw it physically land. Her eyes watered, but she didn't defend herself. That somehow made me angrier. Emily knew you, I said. Ava closed her eyes. There it was. The real wound. Yes. How? Silence. Then, she found me first. My entire body went cold. What? About 4 years ago. She showed up at my apartment. Nothing made sense anymore. Ava leaned against the fence, like she suddenly lacked strength to stand. She wanted to understand why you still had nightmares about me. I stared at her. You talked about me in your sleep sometimes. She continued quietly. Emily said she wasn't jealous. She was worried. I felt nauseous. Emily had searched for the woman who broke me, not to attack her, to understand me. That sounded exactly like Emily. And somehow that made it more painful. What did you tell her? The truth. And what truth is that? Ava looked at me for a long time, then whispered the sentence that changed everything. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I laughed in her face. Actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because rage sometimes sounds like disbelief. You vanished with my savings account. I know. You left me a note like I was nothing. I know. So don't stand here pretending this was some tragic love story. Her eyes filled instantly. You think I don't know what I did to you? Then explain it. She looked away. And suddenly Ava Monroe, the fearless woman who once argued with strangers for fun, looked terrified. My brother owed money. I frowned. What? He had gambling debts. Serious ones. I said nothing. Because part of me already hated where this was going. They threatened my mother. They came to our house twice. One man broke her front window. The wind carried children's laughter from the playground behind us. It felt obscene beside this conversation. I tried fixing it myself. She continued. Loans, extra jobs, selling things. Then she looked at me. I was desperate. And suddenly I knew. Before she even said it. The money. Our savings. Oh my God. I took the money to pay them. I backed away like she slapped me. You could have told me. They said, if I involved anyone else, they'd hurt you too. That's insane. It was true. I wanted to reject every word. Wanted to call it manipulation. Excuses. But the pain on her face looked too ugly to fake. You still should have told me. Yes. You let me think you stopped loving me. Her voice cracked completely. Because I thought hating me would keep you safer than loving me. Silence swallowed everything after that. I hated that part of me believed her. Hated it instantly. The next few weeks destroyed my peace completely. Because once Ava re-entered my life, the past stopped staying buried. Lily adored her. That made things worse. Apparently Ava had been volunteering at the school for almost 2 years. Emily had allowed it. Encouraged it. Actually. According to Ava, Emily believed good people sometimes make catastrophic decisions. That sounded painfully like my wife. One afternoon Lily asked if Miss Ava could come to her piano recital. I almost said no immediately. Then I remembered Emily sitting in that hospital bed asking me to listen before I hated her. So I said yes. Big mistake. Because watching Ava sit beside my daughter smiling proudly during that recital cracked open memories I spent years burying. Afterward Lily ran toward her first. Not me. Aunt Ava. Did you hear the hard part? Aunt Ava. The word punched air from my lungs. Ava looked uncomfortable immediately. She calls me that sometimes, she explained carefully. I nodded stiffly. But something ugly twisted inside me. Jealousy maybe, or fear. Because suddenly this woman I buried emotionally 10 years earlier was standing inside my family memories like she belonged there. And part of me hated how natural it looked. That night I argued with Emily in my head 4 hours. Why would she allow this? Why invite the ghost of my past near our daughter? Then I found the letters. I wasn't looking for them. I was cleaning Emily's closet when an old shoebox fell from the top shelf. Inside were 32 handwritten letters, every single one addressed to Ava. My hands shook reading them. Emily and Ava had written each other 4 years. Not emails, not texts, actual letters. The first one came from Emily. If you really loved him, stop hiding and tell him the truth. The next letter was Ava refusing. Then another. Then another. Pages and pages discussing me, my fears, my grief, my anger, to women connected by the same man in completely different ways. Then I found the final letter. Emily's handwriting weaker, shakier, written during chemotherapy. If I die before you find the courage, promise me one thing. Don't let Lily grow up thinking love only survives when it's easy. I had to sit down, because suddenly the situation became bigger than betrayal. Emily knew everything, and instead of hating Ava, she forgave her. I cried harder reading those letters than I did at Emily's funeral, because grief changes shape when you discover new pieces of someone after they're gone. And suddenly my wife felt both closer and more unreachable than ever. 3 days later, Ava showed up at my house during a thunderstorm, completely soaked, eyes red, and carrying a small metal box. I need to tell you the rest, she said. Every instinct told me to close the door. Instead I stepped aside. She sat at my kitchen table trembling, while rain hammered the windows. Then she opened the box. Inside were photographs, hospital bills, newspaper clippings, and a revolver. My stomach twisted. What is this? My brother's debt wasn't just gambling. I stayed silent. He got involved with dangerous people. One of them was arrested for murder 2 years later. She slid a photograph toward me. A younger Ava, bruised face, split lip. I stared at it speechless. He hit you. He wanted the money faster. My chest tightened violently. Ava swallowed hard. I thought if I married you, they'd eventually come after you too. I looked at the gun. You carried this for almost a year. The room suddenly felt too small, too heavy. You should have come to me. I know. You should have trusted me. I know. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Her composure finally shattered. Yes. The way she said it silenced me instantly, because it sounded like someone who punished themselves daily. I destroyed the only good thing I ever had, she whispered. Do you think there's a day I don't live inside that? Then she said something that nearly broke me. I came to Lily's school because Emily asked me to stay close if anything happened to her. I stared at her. She was afraid you'd isolate yourself after she died. That sounded exactly like me. Exactly like Emily. Ava wiped tears angrily. She said grief would convince you nobody should get close to you again. I looked away because she was right. The real explosion happened 2 weeks later at Lily's birthday dinner. My mother arrived unexpectedly after years of barely speaking to me. And the second she saw Ava sitting beside Lily, chaos detonated. The hatred in my mother's voice stunned the entire restaurant. Lily froze. Ava stood immediately. I should leave. No, my mother snapped. You should explain why my son spent years wanting to die after you robbed him. Every conversation nearby stopped. People stared openly. Lily looked terrified. I stood up fast. Mom, stop. But grief makes old people cruel sometimes. She manipulated you again, Daniel. Can't you see that? Ava looked ready to disappear into the floor. Then my mother delivered the final blow. Emily would be disgusted. Wrong thing to say. Because something inside me snapped instantly. Don't you dare use Emily right now. The table went silent. Even my mother looked shocked. I rarely raised my voice growing up. You abandoned me long before Ava did, I continued coldly. So maybe don't pretend you suddenly care about protecting me. That landed hard. My mother's eyes filled. But I wasn't done. Emily forgave Ava. Maybe you should ask yourself why kindness came easier to my dead wife than compassion ever came to you. Silence. Heavy. Brutal. Then Lily's tiny voice cut through everything. Daddy, why is everybody crying? That question destroyed me more than the argument. Because children expose ugliness, adults hide poorly. I looked at my daughter sitting there confused, beside birthday cake and balloons, while generations of unresolved pain exploded around her. And suddenly I understood what Emily had been trying to protect. Not me, Lily. That night after the party, Ava and I sat on my porch while Lily slept inside. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally she whispered, "Your mother was right. No, she wasn't. I did ruin your life." I looked at her carefully. "No, you ruined part of it." She frowned slightly. Emily saved the rest. Tears filled her eyes immediately. "I used to hate her," Ava admitted softly. "That surprised me. She had everything I threw away." "You knew she was dying," Ava nodded. "She still comforted me." That sounded painfully like Emily too. The porch light flickered above us. Warm summer air, distant traffic, and 10 years of unfinished emotion sitting between us. Then Ava finally asked the question both of us avoided. "Do you still hate me?" I opened my mouth, stopped, because the truthful answer terrified me. "No," I admitted, and somehow that hurt worse. Ava cried silently beside me. Not dramatic crying, the exhausted kind, the kind people do when they've carried guilt too long. Then she whispered, "I never stopped loving you." I closed my eyes immediately. Because some sentences arrive years too late and still destroy you completely. Months passed. Slowly, awkwardly, painfully, Ava became part of our lives. Not romantically, at least not at first. She helped Lily with piano practice, came to school events, argued with me about movies like no time passed at all. Sometimes it felt comforting, sometimes unbearable. Then one evening Lily asked a question neither of us survived gracefully. "Daddy, are you and Aunt Ava in love?" I nearly choked on water. Ava turned bright red. "Children have terrifying instincts." "We care about each other," I answered carefully. "That's not what I asked." Ava laughed unexpectedly, and hearing that laugh again after 10 years did something dangerous to my chest. Lily narrowed her eyes suspiciously. "Mommy said real love is when somebody keeps choosing you, but things get hard." Silence. Complete silence. Because Emily's words hung between us like permission neither of us knew how to accept. That night after Lily slept, Ava stood at the front door preparing to leave. Then she looked at me nervously. "I'm moving to Seattle." The sentence hit harder than expected. "When?" "Job offer." 2 weeks. I nodded slowly. "That's good." She studied my face carefully. "Is it?" And suddenly panic arrived. Real panic. Because I realized losing her a second time might actually destroy me differently now. Not because I needed the past back, but because somewhere between grief and forgiveness, she became family again. I stepped closer before fear could stop me. "Ava," she looked up. "I spent 10 years trying to hate you enough to erase what we were." Her breathing changed instantly. "But the worst part is, losing you hurt because loving you was real." Tears filled her eyes. Mine too. "I don't know how to do this again," I admitted. "Neither do I." Then she kissed me, softly, carefully, like both of us understood broken things require gentleness. And for the first time in 10 years, kissing her didn't feel like reopening a wound. It felt like finally stopping the bleeding. A year later, Lily performed at her first real piano competition. Hundreds of people, bright stage lights, nervous children everywhere. I sat beside Ava in the audience, while she squeezed my hand hard enough to hurt. Still anxious, still stubborn, still the woman who once destroyed my heart and somehow helped rebuild it too. Life stayed imperfect. We argued, we carried scars. Some nights grief for Emily still hit me unexpectedly. And Ava never tried competing with that love. That's how I knew this version was real. She respected the ghost instead of fighting it. When Lily finished playing, the audience erupted into applause. My daughter searched the crowd immediately, for both of us, not separately, together. Then she smiled, and in that moment, I finally understood something grief spent years teaching me. Love isn't the people who never hurt you. Love is the people who face the damage honestly and stay anyway. After the competition, Lily grabbed both our hands while we walked toward the parking lot under cold winter lights. A family, messy, complicated, impossible, real. Then Lily looked up innocently and asked, "So when are you two getting married this time?" Ava burst out laughing. I nearly dropped my keys. And for the first time in years, the future didn't terrify me. It felt open, like maybe life wasn't punishing me anymore. Maybe it was finally giving something back. That night after Lily fell asleep, Ava and I stood quietly in the kitchen, same room where I once sat destroyed by her disappearance. Funny how places survive different versions of us. She touched my face gently. I'm still sorry, I nodded. I know, and if I could relive everything, you can't. She looked down sadly. I lifted her chin carefully. But you came back? Tears filled her eyes instantly, because we both understood the deeper truth hidden inside those words. Coming back doesn't erase damage. It just proves the love was real enough to fight through it. Outside, snow fell softly across the streetlights, while our daughter slept peacefully upstairs. And for the first time in my life, the past no longer felt like a grave I lived inside. It felt like a scar, still there, still visible, but finally healed enough to stop bleeding. People think closure comes from revenge. It doesn't. Sometimes closure arrives when the person who broke your heart finally tells the truth, and you realize surviving changed you more beautifully than the betrayal ever damaged you. I used to think Ava Monroe ruined my life, but standing there beside the woman I lost twice, I finally understood something that would have sounded impossible years earlier. She didn't ruin my life. She ruined the version of it that would have never taught me how powerful forgiveness could become. And maybe that's why Emily trusted her before I ever could. Because my wife understood something I spent years learning the hard way. Broken people don't need perfect love. They need honest love. The kind willing to stay after the truth finally arrives. And as Ava rested her head against my chest, while snow covered the world outside our windows, I realized something else too. Some people leave your life to destroy you. Others leave because they think it's the only way to protect you. The terrifying part is learning the difference too late.